Huge thanks to Chiefs Hotline for asking about a part 2 to how COVID affected the boot industry now that we're here at the end of the year. So let's get into it. That's what we're talking about.
Old boots got soul, and I carry on this way, and we get better every day.
As I mentioned in that video, manufacturing and the traditional way that cowboy boots had been done, like the cowboy boot business, that was like one of the biggest problems, right? It was hard to get boots in the country from Mexico. The factories, even the United States, were having some hard times adjusting. And then plus the boot companies who do business here aren't really used to doing stuff online, right? There's so many traditional cowboy boot companies that are just used to using retailers, those mom and pop shops, those boot barns, those Cavenders, things like that. And it was a really strange time for the cowboy boot industry. Even Tecovas, who's direct to consumer and mainly works through the internet, was having a hard time. They had to lay off some people at the beginning of the pandemic. And even some mom and pop stores went out of business. I mean, maybe a place near you went out of business. Always sad to see that. But the big boot brands, like the Justins and the Tony Lamas and the Dan Posts, they have pretty much weathered the storm, doing what they need to do, business as usual, but they got lots of money. Justin, Tony Lama, Nakona, Double H, Chippewa, Carolina, they're all owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which is an enormous holding company, which also actually owns Geico, Fruit of the Loom, and Dairy Queen, among several other companies, and they have lots of shares in some really big companies too. So this Berkshire Hathaway is an enormous company. These brands are gonna be just fine. They will make it out the other side, maybe because they have this ownership. A little side note, maybe that's why maybe some of the quality has gone downhill. Hey, oh, wait, Jeremiah, wait, you can't say that. I mean, come on. The Mexican-made Tony Lamas aren't as good as they used to be made in the United States. That's not a hit against Mexican-made boots. Mexican-made boots are awesome, but the new Tony Lamas just don't fit that level that they used to be. Nakona is definitely not as good as they used to be, and the newer Justins aren't as good as the vintage one either. Dan Post, Dingo, and Laredo are all owned by McRae Industries, so they're gonna be just fine too. Smaller boot brands just haven't had the capital to just chill and sit it out though. Factories in Mexico have had to adjust. If you guys remember, JW Boot Company ran into a little bit of trouble earlier on because of their factory, but Blake made some really cool moves this year, and he offered new merch and like hats and sunglasses and a whole bunch of other things. So he got into some accessories, which was really an interesting move for him. Brands like Hondo have had a hard time adjusting too because they are super traditionally focused. If you look at where they focus their markets, it's not even they don't even have boots in like boot barns or Cavenders because they don't make enough boots. They have to rely on those small mom and pop stores, and they're also getting their boots from Mexico as well. So it's a little bit of a tough situation, and some places feel it more than others, right? The stores near the cities probably feel it most. In the country, they might not be having as big of a deal with it. You could just go down to your shop where, there's usually only 1 or 2 people or 3 in there at a time. Like if there's 4 people in there, you're like, what is there a sale going on or something? But the weaknesses overall in the industry were exposed because of the pandemic and what COVID caused us all to lock down. Like I said, the cowboy boot industry has always been more traditionally focused, so we've had the opportunity to move more online, and use other strategies. Some companies have even adjusted their strategies. Fenolio, you didn't hear very much of them online before the pandemic, but now, they're all over Instagram and they're doing some great stuff. I mentioned them in a previous live stream about cowboy boots to watch in 2021, cowboy boot companies to watch in 2021, because they are making moves online, and it's really interesting to see. They are getting their strategy down pat. super interesting. Lucchese jumped into doing this a lot more too. They're doing live streams here and there, or at least they were at the beginning of the pandemic. So you saw them jump in, and more companies were doing more online and also limited releases. Takova's definitely made a comeback towards the end of the pandemic, if not halfway through. They had many successful limited releases that sold out like that. We're talking about the Python limited releases. They had 2 that sold out pretty much immediately. And then if you go on eBay and try to find those boots now, they've like tripled in value. So they made some good moves with the boots that they released. Anderson Bean had many limited releases in partnership with their retailers, which helped drive interest to those mom and pop stores. So not only there's activity going on online, but Anderson Bean made those limited releases, and the mom and pop stores were selling them only at their specific stores. So that helped attraction go to those folks too. Those were always good moves for sure. So it's been a year where online has shown to be more important than ever before. Online retail for cowboy boots has shown so much opportunity that some brands are even launching online direct to consumer during this time. They're launching new companies. You know, one of them is Ruho. Ruho is launching right now. They're only a month old. How ballsy is that to launch something like this in a pandemic? I think it's pretty smart because there are opportunities during this time that other cowboy boot companies aren't taking advantage of. So if Ruho wants to jump in and say, I'll take that, more power to him. Cavender's makes a move and also does a similar thing, releases their cowboy boot brand, JRC & Sons. So you're seeing lots of shifting, lots of moving going on here with online and how cowboy boots are made available to you at home. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a huge shift. Online is more important than ever, and the focus there is super important because what we have experienced this year will alter human behavior for years to come. It's not just like we're gonna flip a switch and then be okay going out in the middle of a city around tons of people, right? It's not gonna be like that. So more and more people are getting used to ordering things online, and cowboy boots are included in that. This is why I expect to see more online activity by boot brands that we know and love, but also more new brands pop up like Ruho that are going to take advantage of this gap in the marketplace that the older brands are leaving for them. There's some older brands out there that I'm super concerned about right now. One of my favorite brands ever, Boulé, we haven't seen very much of them during this time. They must be struggling. This is the perfect time to be doing more stuff online, and yet they haven't made that shift. They're too traditionally minded. I want to see Boulé do more because I think they make great boots. But if they're not going to, then folks like Ruho are going to take that market share from them. It's just business, you know? It's very interesting to see. What do you guys think about the future of the cowboy boot industry? Are you worried about some of your brands, or are you excited to see what brands come out of this, if there are any new ones? This was a very interesting year to watch.
I like to see brands online because there's a change in the times. Yes, interest is up, and I know that it's tough, but the future of boots is online. Yes, future of boots is online. Get with the times.